Shamangelic Healing Podcast is designed as a platform to share authentic conversations about real life issues, providing you with valuable resources and tools to support you in shining your most authentic self, creating a thriving life that you absolutely love, and to support you in manifesting your soul's mission. Welcome to this episode of the Shamangelic Healing Podcast with your hostess, Anahata Ananda. And I'm excited to have this extraordinary guest, a unique blend of Western medicine and integrative medicine, and that is Dr. Beth DuPree. She is a phenomenal breast cancer surgeon here in sacred Sedona. And, you know, she's also an integrative medicine specialist and the author of Healing Consciousness, A Doctor's Journey to Healing. And what I love about Dr. DuPree is that she's also a Reiki master and really bringing integrative, holistic approaches to disease and cancer in the most amazing ways. And I'm so impressed and excited to have her on the show today. She's really leading the field in Western medicine to think about the whole person. So we are going to explore today holistic health and integrative medicine and how that can help approach diseases of any kind. So honored to have Dr. DuPree on our podcast today. I know you're going to love this. So let's begin. Welcome to this episode of the Shamangelic Healing Podcast. I am honored to have a beautiful, dear friend and a colleague of mine, Dr. Beth DuPree, who is just an extraordinary blessing to Sedona. And we're going to explore today holistic health and how to leverage integrative medicine when healing disease and connecting the mind, body, and spirit. And so I am so grateful that you're here, and I'm so grateful that you're here in Sedona also. So you are a breast cancer surgeon and, you know, a real passionate advocate for holistic approaches for healing disease in the body. And so I'm so grateful that you're here, and author of Healing Consciousness, by the way. Love this book. This is a must read. So we'll tell you about more, how you can get a free copy of that. So what drew you to Sedona, first of all?
The first trip to Sedona was pure serendipity, heading to the Grand Canyon in 2001. And my husband had driven through when he was in high school, but they didn't really stop here. Yeah. It's on the way to the canyon. And I'm embarrassed to tell you, but we stopped because my oldest son was hungry. And Tommy wanted food, and I'm also embarrassed to say it, in that day and time, we went to Burger King.
All right.
But I showed up at Burger King.
Truth time.
Well, you got to be truthful. That was way back when I was like working hard as a general surgeon and burning the candle at both ends. And we went to Burger King, and the difference was, as we're sitting there and I'm looking around, I'm thinking, this is probably the most gorgeous place on the planet that I've ever seen. Yeah. And we went to the canyon. And we came back, and then we spent the day in Sedona, and we did the typical Pink Jeep tour. Yeah, right. We went out to Enchantment. Right. And I said to my husband, I said, this place makes my soul sing. It was just so beautiful and so peaceful. So the next year, instead of driving through, we decided to come, and then we came here for the past 17 years. We had a timeshare exactly a block away from my office. So I already had moved into my neighborhood on vacation before I had moved here. And then we would come for birthdays and anniversaries and holidays. And in 2016, kind of was going through a shift and recognizing that I was being called to Sedona. It wasn't just for vacation, but there was an absolute calling to bring me here. And then it was one thing after another after another. And suddenly, that summer, I was out here interviewing for a job that I didn't even know that I wanted. Found the perfect house that I didn't know I needed to buy. Mm-hmm. And I started a practice here in September of 2017. Right. And it has been like a rocket ship since then. I didn't know that there was such a need here, but just today, a patient I saw in the office She came back after her surgery. I took her drains out, and she had tears in her eyes when she hugged me, and she said, "Thank you so much for being here."
Yeah.
And my answer is, thank you so much for trusting me, because I was an outsider coming into the healthcare environment in Arizona, and kind of bringing my own spin on, how I do what I do.
And it's not uncommon to have this experience where Sedona just pulls you. I hear clients say that all the time. And when you're called to actually live here, it's a deeper soul mission of why you're called to actually serve from this place and also be supported by it. I know how much you love getting out and hiking.
Oh, I love it.
Sedona's supporting you, supporting others, and so grateful that you heard that call. And because you're not a typical doctor, you're really not a typical surgeon.
You.
I know. It's a
Atypical.
compliment.
It's wonderful.
Because you are really interested in the whole person, and I think that's one of the things where we connected is that a dear friend of mine that lives not far from you, a dear friend, said, "Hey, you guys really need to connect because you're both going about holistic healing from different places, but with an understanding that when you integrate all of the pieces, that's where the real healing accelerates." It is very powerful. And when we met, we were just like,
it was
oh,
like
yes,
a rocket
yes.
ship.
Right? And so I'm grateful for that.
The amazing thing is, in this lifetime, we both were called to be healers.
Yes.
You chose a path through marketing to get there. I took the easy route. I became a doctor because the United States in this day and age, because healthcare and healing are considered to be this interconnected, but healthcare, the way we've been providing it, has lost its soul. Right. We've lost our way. We've forgotten that we are all, spiritual beings having this human experience. And when someone experiences disease or dis-ease, it's not just about treating the physical body. It's about really bringing back the mind, body, spirit connection. You bring it back without having to physically, I explain to patients all the time, when I go to the operating room and I surgically remove cancer, they say, "Oh, you're such an amazing surgeon, you're such a great healer." And I'll say, "Actually, I remove the cancer, I bring the edges of your tissue back together. I don't program your body to bring in the collagen and bring in the blood vessels and to bring in the fibroblasts to create that connection where your body physically heals. Your body knows how to heal from that perspective. But what we've forgotten is how to heal our emotional bodies and our spiritual selves, because we have focused so much on treating the physical body, we've completely forgotten that taking care of the other aspects are as, if not more important, because to me that's where the root of a lot of our disease comes from, when we don't recognize how we're not honoring ourselves.
Right, that is so delicious, and I'm so grateful for that, that a Western medicine doctor is saying that, because this is where medicine is going, is where we look at the emotional body and the energetic and the lifestyle of what created the cancer in the first place. Because you can cut it out, and I say to my clients that are coming with cancers or different types of disease, like, a surgeon may be able to cut this out, but they're not cutting out the issue and the cause. You still need to go and heal that wound. You still need to address the lifestyle imbalance, or the cancer or this dis-ease will just continue manifesting in another way.
So I got a great gift from my old farmhouse on the East Coast. We lived in a 300-year-old farmhouse. And when we were redoing my son's bathroom, took off the wallpaper, and I was like, oh my gosh, there was mold all over the wallpaper, which kind of explained to me as allergy stuff. But it was interesting because that was such a learning moment for me, because I did what anyone would do with mold. I went and got my Clorox, whoop, 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 and I wiped away the mold, which to me, cancer's a mold. It's something that it hides beneath the surface, like underneath the wallpaper. Surgery, chemo, and radiation might be able to wipe away the mold. But if I don't open the windows and I don't let in the air and I don't bring in the light, the mold will come back. And so what we've done with Western medicine is we're very good at acute care. We're very good at trauma. We're very good at taking care of that initial part. But what we forget is, what are the things that were going on in our lives prior to that diagnosis, before the cancer reared its ugly head? And those are the things that we fail to address. And to me, we're not really doing someone service if all we do is take care of what's on the surface.
Because then we're not really looking at long-term vibrant health. We're just looking at a short-term anecdote, which doesn't really allow the shift to happen that really provides a vibrant living experience, because then there's also the fear it's going to come back, it's going to come back, it's going to come back, and that just feeds it.
It was interesting. Just last week I had a patient, I think she's in her 80s, second time she's had breast cancer, and this time was different for her because she said the first time they treated the cancer, and then she got cancer in her opposite breast. And not only did I treat the cancer, but my foundation provides healing services to patients free of charge. And I encouraged this woman who was very open, but very guarded.
Right.
Like, she was open to healing, but she was guarding herself. And she called one of my practitioners, Mary Lou, who is amazing. You have to meet her. And she did a remote session from the East Coast. And when she came to my office and she said to me, "You've given me the greatest gift because I feel like I lost 1,000 pounds. This weight came off her shoulders." She actually healed at an energetic level. So I still treated her physical cancer,
Sure.
but it was that energetic healing that gave her something different than she had gotten previously.
Right.
And she said, had I done this 30 years ago, I don't think that I would have been sitting in your office now.
Right, the second time around. And so this is what Shamangelic healing is all about as well, is that let's go at the core, deep emotional, let's have the courage to look at where any one of us is holding those weights that feel like 1,000 pounds. Maybe we're holding something from our bloodline, maybe we're holding some secret from the past or some trauma that never really had a chance to heal, and giving that opportunity to say, hey, let's actually look deeper, let's look beneath the surface. I'm so grateful to hear a Western medical doctor say that, who's also a Reiki master, and coming with these integrative approaches so that, I remember when we first met, you said, I want to put breast cancer surgeons out of business. And I said, whoa, that's just, like, you just don't hear that from a doctor that says we can go about healing the whole person so that we don't have the disease and the cancer in the first place.
Well, it's funny because Brian Weiss, who's a mentor and dear friend, Brian said the resistance to past life regression when it took him a long time to come out of the closet about the work that he was doing. And for many psychiatrists, they were concerned that if patients were able to regress and heal that wound, that there's no need for them. And I said, well, isn't that a sad state of affairs that a physician or a healer doesn't want someone to be able to not need them, because that's what healing's all about.
That's not a healer, that's a charlatan. That's someone taking advantage of somebody's
Well, that's
health
also the
crisis.
fear that gets put into people, that they're defined by this role that they created in our Western medical model.
Right.
And from, you've asked me about integrative medicine and why I practice integrative medicine. Integrative medicine really, to me, is about getting to the root cause, functional medicine. It's not about treating the symptom. Someone might be depressed, and the Western medical answer might be, here, take a pill.
Medication.
And to me, if we are giving the pill for the ill, all we're going to do is open ourselves up to more symptoms and more side effects. And that root cause is still there. That aspect of whatever it is that led to those feelings of despair or anxiety or whatever it is, we've not met it.
Right.
So from a functional capacity, I like to kind of roll things back to say, okay, what started this process? And one of the things that, there's this misconception in the world that breast cancer is a totally genetically based disease. Honestly, less than 25% of breast cancers have a family history, and less than 11% have an actual identifiable gene that leads to the formation of that cancer. And not everybody that has those genes will develop cancer.
Right, so we can get around that.
Which gets to, another one of my favorite mentors is Bruce Lipton, talking about epigenetics. Looking at the things that we do in our lives, what are the epigenetic factors? What are the things that we have control over that we can then modify to decrease that risk? And when I meet a patient and they're diagnosed with cancer, obviously if they have a potential genetic predisposition, we identify that. Because if you know someone has a gene and there are things we can do to modify their risk, you need to know as young as you can.
Sure.
You don't want to wait till someone gets diagnosed with cancer in their 60s to say, oh, guess what? Could have found this 10 years ago, could have prevented this. Not the time to figure it out. But in most breast cancer cases, patients are being diagnosed and they come to my office like deer in the headlights.
It's scary.
Scared.
You know what? Let's just acknowledge that, because
it's fear,
kind of this silent thing that creeps up, and then all of a sudden, we think it's silent, but we're getting clues along the way that we're just not really trained to identify as precancer signals necessarily. And then all of a sudden this diagnosis comes, and it's scary. And this is not just about breast cancer. This is about any diagnosis, whether it's heart disease, whether it's digestion problems, whether it's thyroid problems, immune disorders. I mean, it's systemic, and it's scary to get the diagnosis, whatever that is, and especially cancer, because that, we all, perhaps, those listening and watching, know somebody that isn't here any longer because of that.
Right.
Because they got the diagnosis and it didn't go their, they didn't go their way. And they weren't able to turn it around for whatever reason.
Yep, and sometimes it's the soul's journey. It's their...
Understandable.
It's that part, but when someone's diagnosed with cancer, they are paralyzed with fear.
Understandable.
And so to me, the thing that I can bring is I can bring knowledge, I can bring compassion, and I truly believe that it's the physician love that heals, not the medicine and not anything else, because when you have a human-human connection, it is the one thing that transcends every lifetime, is that connection. And because breast cancer is so lifestyle related, and there are so many things that we can do to transform the lifestyle to be able to decrease the risk. So you really have someone's attention when they're diagnosed, a newly diagnosed patient. Right. So when I sit and talk to them, I explain the stage and the grade and the pathology and the genetics and things like that. But I break it up into local treatment and systemic treatment. And the very first thing I talk about in systemic treatment is where integrative medicine really comes into full-blown, here we are. Start out with, lifestyle opportunities for improvement. I never talk about what's wrong. I talk about what we can improve.
That could have an effect on starving out the cancer or
changing your immune modulation.
Right.
And because most breast cancers are estrogen dependent or estrogen related, women don't recognize that belly fat or being obese, having a BMI over 30, increases the risk of cancer coming back again. And so I don't tell patients they're fat. I say, you can either grow 4 inches taller or drop 40 pounds, whichever works for you. And the best,
totally optional, your choice.
The best part about that is, though, at that point, I have them laughing, so they're no longer hanging on to that, the anxiety. I talk about alcohol. Alcohol is carcinogenic over, 3 units per week. And 3 units is, 1 unit is 1.5, 4 ounces of wine is 1.5 units of alcohol. So I'm not telling people that they can't drink. I'm just saying that you need to really modify what you're doing. If you're drinking 3 or 4 glasses of wine a week, you just need to know. If you drink 3 or 4 glasses of wine a day, it's an exponential rise. Exercise. Move it or lose it. We're fortunate. We can walk out our door and go hiking, and it's an amazing thing that exercise is something our body craves anywhere.
You can walk around the block. My grandmother, who lived to be 105, she would just up and walk around the block. They had a big long block, and she's like, let's go for a walk. Let's not be inside all the time. So, as far as the things that are lifestyle related, what I'm hearing is definitely nutrition.
Nutrition, eating clean.
Okay.
And there are some people who, I've had friends diagnosed with cancers and they go on kind of crazy diets. And to me, it's about eating clean. It's about knowing where your food comes from. I like my patients to avoid dairy because dairy is inflammatory. Just read a thing today on MedPage about midlife inflammation and its association to Alzheimer's and dementia. Wow. And so, when people ask, well, how is inflammation related? Well, people who get off of dairy, their joints don't hurt anymore. And when you think about it, it's the breast milk of another species. Right.
Well, and especially today with the way that it's processed, a lot of times it's not clean. I know my dad was raised on a ranch in Montana, and the dairy was clean. It was right from the cow, right from the goat. And then when I was growing up, the milk was from a carton, and it was pasteurized, and it also had all of this other stuff in it. And as we have gone with factory farming and so forth, there's more antibiotics in there, there's more chemicals in there.
And it even goes farther than that, though, because it's actually our difficulty in breaking down.
Exactly. That's the digestion.
The protein. And, ironically, T. Colin Campbell and Caldwell Esselstyn were raised on dairy farms. And they are two of the most brilliant, scientists who've looked at the data, the China study. And you can get rid of milk. It's not hard. It's not that difficult to do it. People who do, their joints feel better. And cancer cells need a place to live and stick. And so if you think about inflammation as a welcoming environment, the less inflammation, the better. A welcoming environment for cancer cells to spread. The other thing is how we sleep, how we stress.
Let's just pause on those for a second, because they're each real deep, available things that people can control. So let's talk a little bit more about sleep and why that's so important in the body's ability to kind of keep cancer at bay or to starve it out if cancer is living in the body.
So during sleep, we make melatonin, which is an antioxidant. Immune modulator, kind of circulates the body. If we have an interrupted sleep, number one, we're not actually making enough. We have a lot of ambient lights around. And so your pineal gland's constantly getting pinged. It's going like this, hey, ding, 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 ding. And it needs to be making melatonin. You can take melatonin. I recommend my patients take 20 milligrams a night. There's no negative feedback, so you're not going to stop your production of it, but it has been shown to be such a good antioxidant. It's one of the integrative ways that I use to help my patients, with their immune modulation. And, looking at good sleep hygiene, not looking at your computer screen, not watching a scary movie. I did that last week. I can't even believe it. I didn't know it was,
late at
but
night,
I didn't know it was
too,
scary.
late at night.
It was called Love of Life, and I thought it was going to be. They talked about this intergenerational love story. It was a good movie, but if you're going to watch it, don't do it before bed, because then I was disturbed.
Right, and I think
I didn't know
a lot of entertainment in film is kind of designed to stimulate, and so
To make you think.
well, right, and there's all action movies and things like that. Also, just definitely not right before bedtime.
And all the phone and the emails and all the everything. And then, really avoiding caffeine, late in the day, or keeping it at bay, and just, if you're going to drink it in the morning. And alcohol doesn't give you good sleep either. People may think drinking alcohol is going to it might help you fall asleep, but it doesn't give you the really good kind of sleep that you need to have, which is restorative sleep. Because if your body doesn't have a chance to restore, you get up the next morning and you don't feel like you've been rested. And it's something that we don't pay enough attention to. And if you think about it, I like to meditate before sleep, because I like to get myself, into that zone. And I actually have a lot of meditations that if I'm having a really long day or I had a lot of things I'm thinking about, I plug in my little earbuds and I fall asleep with them in, because it's a soothing meditation where even though I'm not awake listening to it, I'm still getting the benefit of it, because it's that vibrational level that's giving me that sense of peace. And it actually helps me, because you can't focus on the ticker tape in your brain if you're focused on your meditation.
Right, it puts the mind somewhere else.
Exactly.
So that you are, instead of stimulating thoughts,
Right.
it's actually calming thoughts. So
And I have a dolphin meditation that is just phenomenal, because it is healing, it is calming, and it's meant to be something that you do during, that you can do, as you go off to sleep. Right. And that's one of my own personal ways, and everybody can find their own way to do it, but sleep hygiene is incredibly important.
So sleep hygiene looks like go to bed earlier and less screens, and perhaps supplement with some melatonin, especially if you have trouble sleeping, and also looking at getting off the screens so that the blue lights are not affecting
Correct.
the pineal gland, so that the brain is not staying alert when we want it to be restoring and telling the body. If we've got the bright lights on, and the blue light in particular, the brain says, oh, I'm awake. This is not the time to rejuvenate. So it keeps our body from moving into that state of replenishment.
And I started probably 4 or 5 years ago wearing a sleep mask. My husband calls it my helmet, but
very sexy, by the way.
it is very sexy. Yeah, I won't even go there. He doesn't like my helmet, but I have found when I started, it's part of the routine. It kind of sets that intention. And I didn't recognize how much that the little light in the corner of the room for the security system, or the little blue light on a TV, or the little light on I don't have an alarm clock anymore there because I got an iPhone. Why do I need an alarm clock? So getting rid of all those little flashing lights and things, it changes your quality of sleep.
Yeah. So quality sleep is definitely important. And removing things like dairy, because it, that creates the inflammation. And the good news is, compared to 20 or 30 years ago, we have so many dairy substitutes that we didn't necessarily have now. There's some wonderful vegan options with nut cheeses and cashew creams and almond milks and almond butters and almond ice creams. And
just so you know, I don't talk to my patients about a vegan diet because for some people, veganism sounds like a religion. So I call it a whole food plant-based diet, which it is. Right. It's just a different way to think about it, because if you're eating whole foods, because there are vegans who eat potato chips and they're not really vegan-y. You know what I mean? Like they'll say, oh, well, there's no meat in it, there's no whatever. But whole food plant-based sets the intention for eating foods that are not processed, that are natural, that are well-sourced, that are organic,
grown whole foods from Mother Earth. So gardening would be would also be a very valuable thing to start growing your own produce, or buy locally, go to the farmer's market. So that's what happened
to us when we came here.
Yeah,
we went whole food plant-based because my husband has a history of heart disease in his family. Never did well on the the Crestors and the anti-cholesterol agents. I mean, the drugs were making him diabetic, and I'm like, I don't know that that's a good trade-off.
Right.
Your cholesterol comes down, so your labs look good, but you're sticking your finger in the morning to check your blood sugar. So I did the Healthy World Sedona conference last year, and my husband said he knows, like, when I dive in, I dive all in. So I came back from the conference on Thursday, and Friday
there you go.
We were whole food plant-based. So he's like, I guess those 3 racks of ribs in the freezer are going to waste. I said, give them to somebody else. But we bought an Instapot. We started cooking differently. We started, and we did, 6 months of pure. He didn't even do oils or nuts or anything because he was looking at this for the reversal of cardiac disease, which Dr. Esselstyn showed very clearly that you can reverse and prevent cardiac disease. And 2 of our very dear friends who are very fit and very thin and very healthy looking on the surface, both had near sudden, near cardiac death type events. And these are young guys. These are not old guys. These are like guys in their 50s and early 60s. And what it tells you is that, it's not what's on the surface, it's what lies below. And, we are what we eat. What we choose to put in our temple matters. And our soul chose this temple in this lifetime. And to me, choosing how we eat and what we eat, and, how we eat is sitting down at a table, taking time, not being on the run, being mindful, having intention. And those are all things that I'm going to tell you, if anyone's watching this that did the residency with me, they're going to go, boy, is she like the pot calling the kettle black? Because I took my kid to McDonald's, 20 years ago. I mean, am I proud of it? No. But at the time, I was in survival mode. I was evolving. And I recognize now that, the things that I can do with my patients, with my children, with, my children's children someday, like those are the things that we can do to make the planet a healthier place to live and help decrease the incidence of cancer. And that's why, prevention is so important, because I don't want to just treat cancers now. I want to prevent the next generations, because it's the young women and the young men, like men get breast cancer too. So it's our
any
young
disease. What we're really addressing here is
it's all
any
of it.
disease.
It's diabetes, it's high blood pressure, it's heart disease. And cancer is the smallest, of the group. Heart disease is huge. Right. And to know that we can prevent and reverse heart disease with diet and exercise, seriously, Dean Ornish was right when he started this whole movement of, the trifecta of stress management and exercise and meditation and nutrition. And there are so many brilliant sages, as I call them, for health and wellness. And they're really like they're the instigators for the integrative medicine movement, which is not a movement. It's going to become part of, I think, all of what we need, because if you go back prior to allopathic medicine, we were using a lot of herbal medicines from China, plants, traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, all those things that I use in my practice for, to help mitigate symptoms, using homeopathics, things that can help patients to live with or decrease symptoms or side effects of things that they may need to do to get through that phase of their life to get to the point of survivorship.
And that is the mind-body connection. The holistic connection is when we come back to connecting to Mother Earth as well, which is breathing fresh air, drinking clean water, and eating whole foods, and getting out in nature, and then we can move our body in nature as well. And so that's also part of integrative nutrition, is kind of getting back to that part of us that's been disconnected from maybe our ancestors, especially the ones that lived on the land, were a lot more connected to sleeping when the sun sleeps and clean water.
Funny thing you should say that, because our DNA is like caveman DNA. Think about it. Our technology has pushed us so far forward, but our DNA is still back there. One of the best ways for women to lose their menopause, the gift that keeps on giving, it's the extra weight that comes on from 30 to 40, 40 to 50. 14 hours of fasting per night, 14 hours, helps burn your belly fat. Women that did the study that had cancer, that did that, ate the same thing, exercised the same as the control group, the women that fasted dropped their weight, they dropped their menopause, decreased the risk of recurrence. And it's smart if you think about it. Like when we were living off the land, we didn't have electricity, we didn't have, pay-per-view and Netflix. So you went to sleep with the sun and you woke up with the sun. So you had a 12 to 14 hour fast every single night, because
especially in the winter,
when you got up in the morning, it's not like you got up and you go and put something in your microwave. You're going, you got to start the fire, you got to cook the kettle, whatever. And that 14-hour fasting is kind of getting us back to the place that, if you look at the blue zones, people, they don't overeat.
It's a blue zone.
Blue zones are areas in the world where people live longer. They have mostly a plant-based diet. They have a very strong connectedness to social norms, social groups, families, extended families living together.
And spirituality.
Spirituality, less stress. And those are those should be our ideals. Like, how do we get to the place where we have a connectedness in our community? And I do feel that here in Sedona. I have great friends and great connections on the East Coast, but there is a sense of community here that is transcendent. It's really, because most people that live here are drawn to be here. And it's funny if someone says, well, Sedona didn't do anything for me. It's like, that's because it's not part of your path this time, and that's okay.
Yeah. No, people come to Sedona for different reasons. Sometimes it is like you did 20-something years ago, just as a family vacation, and other times it's just to have fun, a pink Jeep tour or something like that. And my clients come here just to listen, maybe to get over the grief or a loss of a loved one or a breakup or something like that, or they come here to actually find their creativity and write a book. And Sedona isn't the healer, it's just the invitation for you to listen to what your body needs, which might be rest. Sometimes people come here and they're like, I got sick there. It's like, because actually you wouldn't lay in bed and rest otherwise. Yeah. And we
didn't do our last one, stress.
Okay, stress. Okay, so
stressed is dessert spelled backwards. Did you know that?
Stressed is
dessert spelled backwards.
I have not heard that.
Because I've always, some people that are stress eaters.
Yeah.
I always say, the desserts that you're stuffing your mouth full is to feed your stress.
Oh.
Because they're
anxious
eaters, and they're doing it to comfort something. And stress is, a lot of times we create our own stress. And if we don't recognize what our stressors are, we can't change how we respond to it, because it's not the stress, it's how we choose to respond to the stress. And I'm, again, guilty as charged.
It's a work in process. I mean,
I'm going to be a work in progress, up until, the day that I transition. But working on stress levels, because stress is like the pinger of cortisol. When you're stressed, you are in fight or flight. And when you're in fight or flight, you're robbing other areas of your body. You're changing your immune surveillance, you're changing your immune modulation using a different part of your brain. And so finding ways to manage stress. And I was having a tough day in the OR yesterday, and my nurse, I adore her, she was so cute, because Letha says, if I don't find out that you scheduled body work or something for you on Friday, she goes, you're going to have to answer to me.
Aww.
And I loved it because, I had really I had 8 cases this week. And breast cancer, there's always stress there, because you care about your patients. I am concerned about them postoperatively, making sure they have the right support, the right, interventions for pain management. And, I get messages today that, and I do Reiki with all my patients when they're going to sleep.
Yay. And
I use local anesthesia, and I try everything. And like 3 patients from yesterday, the phone follow-ups were absolutely no pain, didn't need the narcotics, doing really well, feeling very blessed. And like, that's like fuel for my soul.
Good.
Because I'm knowing that they got exactly what they needed. My staff at the hospital in Cottonwood, in Verde Valley Medical Center, everybody shows up in the morning with an intention to heal that individual that's there, the highest healing intention. And so the stress part, if we don't address the stress, and it may be, some of my patients have left their jobs after the diagnosis of cancer because they realize, or they've left their spouses,
Maybe,
or
yeah.
they, whatever. But, it's the mold theory. I can take away the mold. But if the stress is
Still
not
there.
changed, something else, I say you can get the tap on the shoulder, the 2x4 across the head. The divine will wake you up one way or the other. And that stress piece is, it's something I deal with every single day because I'm balancing the world of, I'm working to create an integrative oncology center here in Sedona. Sedona is the #1 healing destination in the country.
Yes.
#3 in the world.
Right.
In the world. I mean, we're behind Rishikesh and I forget what the other one was, but we are
This is where people come here to heal.
right. And so
That's why we're both based here.
why would we not want to invite people to come to Sedona when they've been given, and some people think I'm crazy when I say the gift of cancer, but cancer can be a gift if you choose to see it as such.
Any diagnosis.
As any diagnosis, as that
Invitation.
stepstone, an invitation to move forward and to look deeper into who it is that you are, what you're doing in this lifetime, what is your soul's purpose? Because so many people, they're living for their paycheck, they're not living their soul's purpose, they're not passionate about what they're doing. They're going to work, they're getting stressed, they go home, they drink 2 glasses of wine at night to medicate them from the stress of the day, to
Wake
get up to do it again.
Have coffee.
And
right?
they're throwing money into account to get to retirement. And how many times do you hear people dropping over dead the day they retire from some other thing? So they're in this cattle chute, busting through to get to this place. Like, it's about the journey. And I feel incredibly blessed because I am a healer. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm a good surgeon. I love to operate. There's nothing, there's nothing that is as awesome as, having one of my colleagues sit with me at lunch today, who's a physician who's had breast cancer, and say to me, it was so cool to have my patient want to show off your work as a breast surgeon. She's like lifting her top to show her the scars that are invisible. And, when having that as my feedback at lunch today, that my patient was so excited that when she looks in the mirror, she doesn't see breast cancer as the first and last thing she thinks about, that she wanted to show it off to her doctor.
Right. Thank you for doing the work that you're doing. And
We've only just begun.
I know, because we're doing retreats together now.
So how cool is this?
This is so cool.
This is so awesome because our connection was divinely orchestrated. Jody Hutchinson, who you two are, I'm hoping to still be the cream in the middle of the Oreo with you guys, are coming together to bring these beautiful souls to a beautiful healing place, Mago, and literally have 5 transformative days where everyone that's coming, their soul is showing up for that higher level of healing. We have someone flying in from Chicago. We got people flying in from the East Coast. It's just going to be an amazing group of women, and they are going to find their divine feminine. They're going to open up this level of healing that I've been doing these retreats since 2010, and the transformations that come out of them are, it's nothing short of, I call it miraculous because I know the work that I do as a doctor is important. I know the work that I do as a surgeon is important, but the work that I do as a healer is, that's my soul's purpose. That's why God put me on this planet, to bring together Eastern and Western medicine. And if I didn't have this fabulous opportunity to travel the globe and inspire and to awaken other like-minded surgical souls, I'm going to Russia. I had 3 Russian surgeons here who, they love the aspect of what we do with healing because they want me to bring that to this conference I'm going to in June. And one of the things that I found so amazing about them coming to spend time with me, they weren't joining their patient. I take my patient from the holding area into the operating room, and I do healing work with them, Reiki, whatever you want to. When they're going to sleep, I have one hand in my right hand and my right hand over their heart, and I ask them where they want to go because in guided imagery, you can't be in 2 places at once. So I'm guiding them into that space, sending them that loving universal energy for whatever their soul is, without judgment, highest healing intention. I don't get to pick who lives and dies.
Right.
All I know
It's not a
is that when I can get someone to that place of positivity, I have seen miraculous healings here. Patients with metastatic disease who have no evidence of disease, cancer melting away. Yes, we gave chemo. Yes, we've done surgery, but things that are happening at this vibrational level that is beyond what I would, expect to see from traditional Western medical therapies. I've brought together the Western chemo, surgery and radiation, and now we're really bringing this high vibration aspect of healing. And the things that are happening are extraordinary. And I just feel blessed to be part of it and to be bringing that to Northern Arizona healthcare, to bring it to the practice. It's wonderful because even the nurses, the patients, the other doctors, like my anesthesiologists are, they call it my magic oil. I bring flower of sunlight oil to the OR, and they're like, can we have some of your magic oil? And I'm like, it's not magic oil. I said, it's a high vibration energy, and it's setting the intention for healing for that individual.
This is so powerful, the intention, and also these non-traditional approaches that are not typically in a surgical room. And I love that because now we're really looking at the whole person. This is where you and I really intersect, because I'll be working with, I've been in 2 decades with a healing practice, and most of that here in Sedona, helping people with all kinds of diseases and farther on stage cancers, and looking at what are the ways in which we can really support, whether it goes this way or that way, or what lifestyle. Not judge it, but to embrace the quality of life and to learn how to love self, because I think that's what's so common among the diseases, and is a disconnect in self-love and self-care and self-worth, that everybody else is more important. I have to go and I have to provide, or I have to do, and that self doesn't matter. And this is for men and women.
So when my patients are diagnosed, and God willing, you'll never be in my office.
I will never be in your office besides having lunch.
Exactly. When I have a beautifully carved wooden bowl with a sprig in the middle, which is the tree of life, and I have pink rose quartz hearts.
Yeah.
And so at the end of our conversation, I tell my patients, these rose quartz are the stone of self-love.
Yeah.
And I say, who's the most important person in the world? And most of them can't say that they are.
Right.
And I have to get to that place, and usually there's a lot of tears flowing. And I'll say, if you can't take time to take care of yourself, how can you take care of everybody else?
Right. And you won't be here. Actually,
exactly.
The truth is, you won't be here to take care of everybody else. And that's really true. My kids never had the chance to meet their mother, their grandmother, on their dad's side, because she transitioned from breast cancer before they were even conceived, and so they never had the chance to meet their grandmother. And I've had that experience of seeing what a gap that has when you're go and do, and you don't make the life changes, then you're actually not here any longer.
Right.
You're not here any longer, and that's a very real wake-up call. And what I really appreciate about this discussion, Beth, is that it puts us back in the driver's seat, because we have with compassion and gentleness and honesty, we can make some of these life changes that may just be like going to bed better, earlier, or turning our phones off, and
switching to almond milk.
Yeah, switching to almond milk, just, having a dairy-free option, or eating more whole foods, more clean, plant-based foods, organic foods, and more fiber, and having more calming, relaxing meditation.
You'll also be happy to know I'm not the only doctor in the world that has this philosophy.
Oh, I know, it's growing. I know that you guys are multiplying.
Well, every year, this is I think our 7th year, we do a weekend called the Breast Cancer Survivorship Experience.
Yeah.
It's not for patients, it's for the breast cancer surgeons, to teach them, number one, self-care.
Right.
And to teach them what their patients need with sex and intimacy, with fertility preservation, with
emotional
nutrition.
clearing, yeah.
Jody's coming, and she leads meditations every day. And it's a wonderful opportunity to bring young surgeons, before they go out in private practice, to get them to see this. And this year, we have several that are coming back to join us who are a couple years out in practice, who say, I need a refresher course because now I need to bring in practice what you've been doing in your practice. And, that's why I started the foundation, because I wanted to be able to fund healing services, because
they're not covered by Blue
patients,
Cross.
I know,
They're not covered by
patients
HMOs.
are struggling to handle their costs. And, Northern Arizona Healthcare Foundation is, sponsoring this retreat this spring, which lets me know that I'm in the right health system here in Northern Arizona,
Yes.
and that they understand the value of healing and not just the value of treating disease.
Right.
Because not every health system gets that high vibration where, the highest healing comes when we bring them both together.
Right. This is where we really intersect, and I love that, because a lot of the concepts that you're bringing, to the retreat and also in your book about practices that people can do, and where I come in is, well, let's look at the emotional challenges. What caused that cancer in the first place? Where's the emotional body still holding that energetic that is not at ease? Where has the trauma not been witnessed or released or transformed or healed or blessed or forgiven? And also, where might there be holding of something that isn't even yours? And a lot of my clients are holding traumas or pain or something that actually belongs to a loved one, a family member that isn't even theirs, because they're so sensitive and taking on the pain or suffering or the burdens that don't even belong to them, and we can hold it for decades. A father's anger, a mother's insecurity, somebody else's trauma, or through the intimate experience, we can be taking on our partner's density,
right,
or depression or anger, or their battles or their burdens. And so this is where we intersect in where I'll take a look at, well, what is going on with you at a deep level, and where is this disease having its emotional and energetic roots? Because I want to, like you, I want to get at the root cause, and we're both coming at this, in different ways, but complementary ways.
And this is where, years ago, I was asking advice from a guardian angel, and I'd asked Raphael, I said, is there a healing modality that I'm supposed to be learning? Is there, something that I'm missing? Because, I did Reiki training, I've done IET, multiple different healing modalities. And, her answer was kind of simple, that I'm not supposed to be the one doing that work, but I was the person that's supposed to connect Western medicine with that level of healing, because and I have a vision of our cancer center here in Sedona, where it's not a cancer center, it's a healing center where people happen to have cancer. They may come there and be drawn there with cancer, but it's kind of like the ignition to begin that process where, yes, we're going to treat that physical, that part of your body that ceased to vibrate, because, cancer is that chaotic growth of cells that lost its ability to learn how to die.
Well, and that's also where the person is, a part of them is really dying, whether
Right.
cancer is the wake-up call or heart disease or whatever it is. I'm smiling at that center, because you know how much I support that, because I know that it's a life force center. To me, what I see is where somebody is literally dying because they're disconnected and out of balance in so many ways. This is the opportunity to bring all of those pieces back online, which is where there's hope, so that we can actually experience the joy and the bliss and the happiness that we came here, and that wake-up call is just the invitation to learn how to bring that part of us that was separated or fissured in a trauma, or part of our power that was given away to try to be included or loved or liked and accepted, and where we have disconnected from our divine essence, and reconnect all those pieces together. And it lights me up that we have the opportunity
it's amazing.
to help people, turn it around. And I'm so grateful to bring what the divine has blessed, the gifts that the divine has blessed me with, because I certainly don't have your healing gifts, and they're so complementary and together.
But you need both, though, because
we need a team for sure.
Because I have some patients who completely turn away from Western medicine when they can,
Right.
their body can be cured of the cancer. But if their body is cured of the cancer and they sit in their kitchen with the lights off waiting for cancer to come back, they will never be healed.
Right.
And alternatively, if some patients, this may be their path and they may be at a state where their soul is going to transition. But if they're at peace and they've done their soul's journey and they've done their work and they have that peace in their heart, there's not a thing that I'm going to be able to do with Western medicine to be able to change that.
Right.
And so it's about understanding.
Non-attachment,
Yeah, and understanding that, to me, the biggest sadness is when someone physically doesn't have any cancer in their body, but they're so afraid of going into their past, into those deeper levels that they're holding on to energetically, to be able to let go and let God, to be able to forgive. And
where the liberation
you forgive not
exists.
because when someone abused you, what they did was wrong, but you holding on to it is you're getting the poison. You're energetically holding on to it. And so for someone to not be able to be given those tools and those gifts of healing, that's where we're missing the greatest opportunity to truly have transformative and have what I call, quantum healing. Quantum healing has nothing to do with getting a bigger linear accelerator. It has to do with, linearly accelerating the healing process through the very, very deep work.
And there's hope. And, what I love is that there's possibilities. And you and I, as practitioners in different modalities, get to meet somebody in their readiness. And if somebody is not ready at this time, that's okay. If they've met their level of change capacity, and this is how it's going to go, it's okay. And to be able to meet somebody in non-judgment about that,
right,
so that they're not also holding the burden of, I wasn't strong enough. And I've helped people in both directions, that the cancer was so far along, and it was like, okay, this is, it's time to surrender and let go, and to be able to do that with beauty and grace, and to not feel guilt and shame for, I wasn't able to turn this around quick enough this lifetime. And also had the beautiful opportunity, as you have, I'm sure, seeing people that were looking like they're going this way, and to be able to say, wow, together with mindset, with positivity, with Western and integrative approaches, and all of these beautiful changes and the deep core healing and shifting lifestyle, like so many beautiful miracles are possible.
It's out there.
And
It's
I love it. I love it. So tell a little bit, tell the audience where they can find you and about how they can get your fabulous book.
It's funny, I look at that picture.
And you're like, how long ago,
Oh
right?
my God, 2006. It's interesting because I actually sent this book to be printed from Sedona Summit. I signed off on it and sent it. It was April.
Healing Consciousness.
April
What doctor
2006.
writes a book like this? So tell people where they can get it.
So you can get it on the foundation website, which is hcfbucks.org or hcfsedona.org.
Say those slower again.
HCF, which stands for Healing Consciousness Foundation. You can Google it. If you Google my name, it's probably one of the first things that comes up.
We'll have it in the show notes. So
And the books that come from the HCF can be signed and personalized. You can buy it from Amazon, which it's out there. It's on Kindle. And it's not a book about cancer. It's truly a book about healing. And it's funny, my one plastic surgeon I work with out here, he told me yesterday, he goes, I'm 5 chapters in. He's like, because he's intrigued with me, I think. So it's kind of interesting because even some of the souls that may be slumbering are starting to wake up because they're recognizing that it's not just what we do in Western medicine that matters. It's what we do from our heart to our patients, and that's the connection. So thank you.
Right. We'll make sure to have in the show notes.
And 3 people get to get it.
Okay. So yes, if you email, the first 3 people to email support@shamangelichealing.com, we will send out, or Beth will send out to you a signed copy for you just for the Shamangelic Healing podcast listeners today. So the first 3 people will get a free signed book sent to them, which is a beautiful gift. So thank you for that. And on that website that we will have in the show notes is where people can find out about if you are dancing with breast cancer and surviving breast cancer and the dance of healing that, about the retreats and programs that are offered through the foundation, the ones that are happening here in Sedona and other programs. So we'll make sure that
Perfect.
link is in the bio. And where you can find me, well, I'm here in Sedona, and shamangelichealing.com is where I offer deep private journeys for people that are going through whatever life wake-up call, or whether you're spreading a new set of wings, or whether you're dealing with a pain or a diagnosis or a challenge. This is what my healing practice is really designed. It's my passion and is my life mission to help people turn their life around through big core life shifts. And I'm grateful and honored to be having this soul mission right here in Sedona with other beautiful sisters like you. And I would love to offer a free gift as well. I've recorded a guided visualization that goes through the body, and it is going through the cells and the tissues that maybe are dealing with a challenge or a disease, or maybe have had a surgery and are or chronic pain or an injury that hasn't quite healed. And so if you look at the link in the show notes that says free gift, I will make sure to give you that download so that you have that guided visualization to kind of help envision your body at its vibrant self, and your cells getting the nutrition and also the vitality that they need to really thrive and do their mission. And also want to give you a discount on the meditation course as well. So that way, to kind of help you drop into the meditation practices that we talked about, we want to make sure that you have that as well. So
Thank you.
yes, thank you, Beth. I'm so grateful that the Sedona goddess has called you here, and that your vision and your passion is really helping, going global, helping other practitioners and physicians look at more integrative approaches. And so thank you for being a maverick in your practice, and also globally inspiring other practitioners to really think big picture for whole person healing. So don't you just love a doctor that does Reiki, and gives out pink crystal hearts to each of her patients and clients? And thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you, listeners and watchers, for tuning in today, the Shamangelic Healing Podcast. If you thought there was something in this episode that was really valuable and inspiring, that might be helpful to somebody else that you know, somebody else that is navigating disease in some way, or a challenge, health challenge, and you think that this conversation might really benefit them, please like it, share it, and subscribe to our podcast. Give us a fabulous review so that we can get the word out to others that might really be benefit from this kind of content. So thank you so much, and it's my pleasure. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. We really appreciate your time and energy, and may you go forth and thrive and really bring an integrative, holistic approach to your life as well.